This section is on solving proportions, and basically what a proportion is an equation in which two ratios or two fractions are equal. Okay, so all of the fractional equations that you've seen in the previous sections are not necessarily proportions. Okay, these have to be just where you have two fractions or two ratios that are equal. To solve a proportion, we use something called the cross product. So this statement says if A over B is equal to C over D, then their cross products are equal, meaning that A times D is equal to B times C. And so this is the rule or the property that we use to solve the proportions. So the first example says to solve 2 over 7 is equal to 5 over x. Okay, so again, this is just an equation that has two fractions that are equal. So if I cross multiply or use the cross product, that would mean 2 times x is equal to 7 times 5. And then I would continue to simplify. That means 2x would equal 35. Follow the same rules we've done with equations. Divide by 2. And so x would equal 35 over 2 because this doesn't reduce. Now you'll have to look at the computer. They may want you to have a decimal, but most of the time they do want the fractional answer. If it doesn't reduce, then you're finished. Okay, let's look at the next example. Number 2 says to solve x over 4 is equal to 6 over 13. So again, it's a proportion. X times 13 would be 13x equals 4 times 6, which is 24. We could go ahead and multiply here. Divide by 13. And so x is equal to 24 over 13. 24 and 13 do not have any common factors, so we can't reduce. This would be the solution. Okay, number 3, you have 8 plus x over 5 equals 5 plus x over 3. Looks a little different than the other two, but we can still work these out exactly the same way. Okay, remember we said cross multiply because it is just two fractions. 3 times 8 plus x. If you have a binomial, the best way to write it would be in parentheses. So I actually have 3 times x plus 8. Okay, and that is equal to 5 times 5 plus x. So again, if I have a binomial, that will go in parentheses. And so I have 3 times 8 plus x equals 5 times 5 plus x. So now this looks just like equations that we've seen before. Distribute the 3 would give me 24 plus 3x equals, distribute the 5. That would give me 25 plus 5x. I need all the variables to be on one side. So I have a 3x. If I want to bring the 5x over, I have to subtract it. So that would be a negative 5x. We already have a 25 on the right side of the equal sign. If we want to move the 24, it's positive here. So to move it, I have to subtract. So 3x minus 5x would be a negative 2x. 25 minus 24 would be 1. And then our last step is to divide by negative 2. So my solution would be x is equal to a negative 1/2. And again, that doesn't reduce, so we just keep it as negative 1/2. So a little more steps to this one, but it's still using that cross product property. Okay, let's look at example 4. Solve 7 over 2 is equal to z minus 5 over z minus 3. It's going to use the same property, cross multiply. 7 times z minus 3 is equal to 2 times z minus 5. Always put your binomials in parentheses. This means I have to distribute 7 times z, 7 times negative 3 is equal to, distribute the 2, would give me 2z minus 10. All the variables to one side, so I already have a 7z. I need to subtract the 2z. We already have a negative 10 on the right. I need to add 21. So 7z minus 2z would be 5z. Negative 10 plus 21 would be 11. And then divide by 5. And so I get z is equal to 11 over 5.